Hello, Phi Tribe members. I want to thank you personally for all of your extra help and support of the Phi Tribe channel. It really means the world to us. And without you, I don't even know what would happen here. You guys are really amazing, so thank you very, very much. And I want to give something back to you. I want to give you some extra content, something really, really awesome that's kind of all just for you. And I wasn't really sure what that should be. Some people have mentioned they wanted to see me work behind the scenes and how I put these songs together. So that's what this is. So yesterday I had a friend help me film some things, and I started the song from scratch. I had no idea what I was going to start with, and you'll get to take the ride with me as inspiration kind of comes in, and you'll see me lay it all down. Today was a much more tedious day. Today was much more about engineering and overall production, where I was just correcting all of my tiny mistakes and EQing the sound and incorporating the Phi Balance to all of the music. So today was a little bit more, it was more of 8 hours of very boring stuff. So I'll just let you skip out on that stuff. But we'll see. This is the first video I've done like this. Let me know if you like the format, or if you want to change anything, or if there's stuff that you'd like to see that I'm not talking about. And also, let me know in the comments what kind of stuff you would like for me to give you. I was considering like a Zoom call that we could do together and talk about Phi and the nature of this golden ratio rule that seems to be ruling the world. We could do that, or you guys let me know. Just tell me what you guys like. Tell me what you guys would like to see, and I'm happy to provide. Thank you guys very much again for all of your support. I really appreciate it. And now on with the show. So today, I'm going to be doing another Rife frequency of 2128 hertz, 2128 hertz. This was a frequency that he believed could pinpoint cancer cells and eliminate them. So that's the frequency we're honing in on today. And typically how this process starts is I find the frequency. Usually I'll do look into the NIH studies on it and look at some of the procedures they followed in the NIH. Unfortunately, the Rife frequencies I don't think are really supported by NIH, so I'm just kind of doing my own process here. And it's not really going to make too much of a difference to what I normally do, so it won't be that drastic. But typically the project starts off by honing in on what 2128 hertz is. So what I want to do is correspond that frequency to the frequencies of the keyboard of a piano. And what happens is that frequency, you'll find that you can't find that frequency anywhere on the keyboard. It just won't show up at all. You won't be able to hear it at all if I tried to find it on a piano or normal keyboard. So I have to do special tuning methods to get the keyboard to be in tune so that one of the keys will be 2128. And there's typically a lot of mathematics involved in that, and it's quite a tedious procedure. But thanks to AI, this has become very simple, and AI figured it out for me in, I don't know, about 5 minutes of me just prodding some questions. So that took a lot of the pressure off. So for this project, we're doing Rife frequencies, and I'm using Pro Tools for those of you who are making music of your own. That's my DAW system of choice. And I'm using Pro Tools HD, and I've got an array of some equipment back behind me here, mostly outboard gear for recording microphone stuff. And then I've been using a few plugins. The primary plugin I'm going to be using is called Nexus. And so yeah, I've gone ahead and built a session where I take out the majority of the instruments that I typically use for two reasons. One, I like for Phi Tribe to have its own unique sound, so I typically use a lot of the same sounds over and over again so that you instantly recognize that it's Phi Tribe the minute you hear it. And secondly, it's super tedious finding new sounds. I didn't want to bore you with all that. It requires just sitting there and just kind of playing a keyboard, change the sound, change the sound. And you might go through 500 sounds to find one that you're like, okay, that's going to work. So that's very boring TV. So we're skipped past that. So just like a cooking show on TV where they got everything prepped and all the things are cut and all that stuff is there for me, it's going to be just like that. For those of you who are interested in the tuning and what Phi Balance is, I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but I'm not going to get too deep into it because that stuff is very boring to a lot of people. But you want to show the screen over here? So what I've done is I've taken the Nexus program and I've gone to the global tuning section, and through the mathematics we determined that that A needs to be tuned to 422 hertz, not 440 hertz, which is typically what music is tuned to. Most of the stuff on Phi Tribe is tuned to 432 hertz. But for some of these unique frequencies, we have to find some unique frequencies to work with. So for this one, it's 422 hertz. And then this plugin has been custom tuned for precise temperament tuning by Robert Edward Grant. He's a very famous mathematician. Many of you know that he has a TV show on Gaia. But he found the unification between sound and geometry. It was a major discovery of April last year. And through that, something called precise temperament tuning has been developed through another guy named Tony Mazzotti. I think that's how you say his name. There'll be links to all of this in the description of the video. And Tony has created a program that will reprogram your plugins to precise temperament tuning. So all that to say, everything here has been set up mathematically to produce geometric tones precisely. And that is a big part of why Phi Tribe has the sound that it has. Somebody commented recently, they said, how is it that you're just playing an A minor and I feel like I'm melted butter? Because it's not just an A minor chord that you would typically hear in music. There's all of this extra stuff going on, these extra mathematical things that are happening to make it resonant with your experience and reality. Everything in the universe vibrates. Everything vibrates to a certain, is kind of tuned to a certain hertz, so to speak. And that is a ratio called Phi, which is what we're called Phi Tribe. And when you tune to that, the body can feel the difference. You can really feel the difference. So that's it for the Phi Balance stuff, the Phi Tribe. If you have deeper questions, I'm only letting the members comment on this. Just leave me a comment, and then I'll try to answer it on the next time I do this. All right? All right, so getting into making the music. All right. So what I found is that C sharp is the 2128. And then each octave of that is you divide the number in half, right? Okay. So essentially our 2128 I'm going to play as a frequency here so we get a sense of what it is. You just show the screen again, James. You'll see this is set to 2128, and I'm going to play it for you. Okay, that is the actual frequency. That's the tone that you're supposed to listen to for an hour and a half. But can you imagine listening to that for an hour and a half? It'd be too much, right? Oh, look to the camera. Oh, come closer. Sorry, we're learning this. So so that's the tone you need to be hearing. But the thing about it is, since we've set up all of our mathematics to that, everything that I'm going to play is now harmonic with that tone. So I will have that tone in the music, but I'll also be playing music along with it, and all of it is harmonically reinforcing that frequency. So we'll move it down from there. So I'll let you kind of see. It's a C sharp. So if you can hear how that was harmonic with this tone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the music, so write some music around that tone, and then I'm going to find a comfortable volume for that frequency to pop up into the music. So I'm going to scoot this along real quick and let you see how I kind of put this together. So what I'm basically doing is just doing from C sharp to F sharp, and it's just going back and forth between those two chords. But the significance of those two chords is that they both contain the C sharp note. So I'm able to hold a harmonic tone of 2128 the entire time. So I've set my tempo to 120 beats per minute, and I set that because it makes it in time with the binaural beats that will be put in later, so that everything is synced to 60 seconds, basically. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and record this section here. I forgot a quick track. So, believe it or not, that's the entire riff of the song. It's just those two chords going back and forth. So now it's my job to find a way to take that small little riff, which is in essence the entire song, and make it interesting for at least an hour. And that's where I have to get a little bit creative. And it's a lot of just experimenting and finding things that work. For the most part, I've noticed that when you're sleeping, what seems to work the best are songs that are not complicated. If it has a lot of chord changes in it, typically people don't sleep very long to it. So the simpler is the better. And finding interesting textures and sounds that I can layer into the music that that won't wake you up, essentially, that will just keep you lulled into a sleepier state of consciousness and nothing too abruptly waking you up. So I'm going to take this out here now. I felt like it was a little bit fast, so what I'm probably going to do is just bring this down a little slower. And sacrifice that aspect of the binaural beats being, which won't really make a difference too much. It's mostly just a difference to me. And let's see what we got here. Oops. Finally, and that's the kind of buggery stuff you deal with all day long as an engineer. Engineer is not really about creating anything, it's more about solving problems. And it's just nothing but problems, and you're solving them. So now I gotta put my musician hat back on and find a way to make 4 chords, or 2 chords really, interesting. And you guys will take a ride with me. Here we go. I'm not gonna really talk too much anymore, just take the ride with me. I know it's working because James, my assistant here, is falling asleep. So that's how I know it's working. So yeah, I've got a couple of things going on here. Just this little riff, and I didn't come here really prepared, other than I knew the 2 chords that I was going to be playing. So let me just kind of fish it out, I should say, and get lost in the mix a little bit. that. So I'm going to add that in now. Again, I'm just winging it. If there's something you don't like, leave me a comment. Good or bad, either way it helps. So essentially what I'm doing, I'm just riffing, and if I make a mistake, I just keep going, and I'll edit it out later, I'll fix it out later, which is kind of like a good metaphor for life. When you make a mistake, you just keep the integrity of the music. That's what a band does. So if there's a band playing together and the guitar player hits a bad note, nobody stops and throws drumsticks at the guitar player. They just keep moving, and we just try to hide the fact that there was a bad note. Do what you want with that. Couple of good things in there, not too much though. So let's see what we like. So what I've done is I've just taken the 4 minute section that I just did and copied it out to 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes, and this is how it progresses. I just do 4 minutes at a time, a couple minutes at a time. Um, Generally, I don't like to follow the metronome too much. I want it to be loosely time corrected, but for the most part, just to be natural. And if it falls slow, it falls slow. If it rushes a little bit, it rushes a little bit. The reason I do that is because the mind has a hard time shutting down, and it will look for anything to cling to, which is a rhythm or a pattern. And the fewer patterns I can give it, and to make it more sound completely spontaneous and unpredictable, that's when the brain shuts down. So if you're ever wondering why I do it that way, that's what I do. And essentially, I just really want to make 9 minutes of completely original music where nothing repeats for 9 minutes at least. Sometimes I'll do 12 minutes, 13 minutes, but generally in that area. And then from there, I can copy that 9 minutes out into an hour. And then each time that 9 minutes repeats, I'll just make very slight changes to that section. So if there is a pattern, the pattern is really, really long, which is why you can't hear it. And it just comes through refinement. Generally, when I'm working on something, it's going to sound like poo, mostly the whole time I'm working on it. And it's only in maybe the last hour of working on something, that the right tweaks are made and it starts to come together and it starts to sound like something like, oh, I would listen to that. So that's a little bit of my progress. Now I'm going to dive back into it.
Break time.
A nice refreshing break, and I've had a moment to put together the sound that I was working on earlier, which is kind of very, James says he's an arcade kind of thing. Yeah. Which sounds very abrasive, but I think down in the mix it's going to sound pretty cool. So I'm going to add that in and a couple more sounds, and just take the ride with me. I think I can do that better. I'll try again. ahead and add in. I'll go ahead and add in the best part now, the part that you guys all go crazy for. I seriously get like thousands of comments about this one sound, so this is it. You guys want to know how I make it? Let me show you. This is the little droplets of water. I'm going to show you my trick. Using this keyboard here is silent. A few tweaks to get little drops, and trim the EQ way down, so you're just getting the very little bit of it. So, we've only got a few more minutes left on our battery for videoing. So I'm going to go ahead and, so you're basically getting the idea of how I put this together. And like I said before, it's just a matter of just refinement. I just keep going over it and over and over again, taking out little bad mistakes, making things a little bit better wherever I can, and just keep refining it. And this is I'm about 7 minutes into it, so I still have 3.5 more minutes of completely original music I have to come up with. But that'll be on another video, I guess. So for right now, what I wanted to do is answer some of the questions you guys have about binaural beats. I get a lot of questions about binaural beats. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I make those. For this particular project, it's going to be, I'm going to set it to the theta state, which I think is the best. That's my favorite one for sleep. You can do a delta state of the binaural beats, but the delta is very, very low, and I tend to feel very groggy the next day when I'm listening to delta waves. So that's why I prefer the theta waves. Plus, I think I have crazier dreams on the theta waves. So let me just show you how to put that together. Hang on. My dog is laying on the cord. Okay, there we go. Always under my feet. Okay. So I'm using these tone generators here. And to listen to what that sounds like, this is what it sounds like. Okay. So for this particular one, I've already chosen it to be, it's going to be centered around 260, what did I say it was? Hold on. 230 hertz? No, it was, I didn't write it down. 532. Hang on 1 second. Bear with me. I forgot what the number was. What was it? Okay. 32 divided by 2. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I did it right. Okay, so I've got it's centered around 266 hertz, which is an octave lower than 532 hertz, which is an octave lower. It's basically 532 is 1/4 of 228, so it's proportional. And I've split that in half again to go to 266. So binaural beats are going to be set around 266 hertz. So in order to do that, I set up 2 tracks for the binaural beats, and one is panned all the way hard to the left, and the other one is panned all the way hard to the right. And the one in the left channel is we're making 266 the pole, so the left will be set to 264, and the right will be set to 268. And you split the difference is 266. So you have 2 hertz on the left and you have 2 hertz on the right. And that differential is 2 plus 2 is 4. So if you guys are following me, that creates the 4 hertz theta wave, because it's bouncing back and forth between left and right every 4 hertz. And this is what it sounds like. This is that's what they sound like all by themselves. And you hear that pulsing. That pulsing is going back and forth between your ears, and your brain will perceive that as a beat. It only hears the beat, and that beat, when you start to entrain to that, that's what makes you sleepy. All right, so that's pretty much it for the binaural beats. And then furthermore, what I would do to reinforce this even more, so in other words, the music will be playing and the binaural beats will be underneath that. And if I solo the beats by themselves, so that's what you're listening to, and that's what's being covered up by the music. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the 2,128 hertz. It's that one right there. That's an annoying sucker, isn't it? All right. No wonder cancer doesn't like it. And can you see how it's still there, but it's not quite as irritating? Because you almost kind of tune it out a little bit. It might even be too loud still. But even if it's low in the mix, barely loud enough to hear, you're still getting that frequency. That frequency is still hitting you, no matter how low it is. And the idea is for all the other frequencies, which are also harmonic of this frequency, it reinforces it. And all the frequencies working together are basically reflecting back 2128. And that is how it's done. One more level of the Phi balancing, which I probably should say for a whole second video, is when I get into the EQing and compression here. In fact, I will say this for another video. But this is really where the Phi balance takes place. It's all in the EQ. Hang on. It's all in the EQing and setting up the parameters of the EQ for the frequencies to be numerologically 3, 6, and 9. I'll get into that in another video because it's going to be a long explanation, and I'm getting the finger saying that we're out of battery, so this is the end of the video. But once again, to my members, thank you very, very much for showing up and hanging out and supporting the channel with your extra kick in the bucket with money there. I really appreciate it. It really keeps the channel alive, so thank you very much. And I want to hear back from you. Tell me in the comments what you want me to give you, and I'll be happy to do it for you, especially my members. So thanks again, and I'm out. Until next time. So it's the end of day 2 in the studio. I didn't film this section of it because a lot of it is really, really meticulous and boring. A lot of me playing the same part over and over and over again, maybe the same 2 bars. I might listen to that for half an hour and get it right. So it's super tedious, and I didn't want to bore you with it. But I wanted you to see the final production of where we are. And so you can see here I've got the original 2128 tone being played, right? If you listen carefully, it's there. And I've got that tucked in with the 532, which is an octave of that. And then I kind of got in here into adjusting a lot of the volumes of the filter of the synth. So that controls this knob here. Kind of takes the edge off of the main pad a little bit. And by doing that, it kind of lulls you into a sleepier state. And then I kind of increase it again and give it a little more edge to kind of pull you out of it again. So you're kind of getting this nice sine wave of deep rest, and then kind of bringing back to the theta and then back down again. And I'm doing the same thing with the binaural beats. They're dipping down into 3 hertz for a little bit, and then back up into 4 hertz a little bit, and back up. So you're kind of bringing you up and down throughout your sleep. And then you'll notice that I've gone through every single section of the horn, meticulously edited them, took out the bad notes, moved things around to get it just right, making sure that nothing was too loud or too abrasive that might wake you up. And then I also made them a little bit different, so it's not repeating all the time. You're always getting something new happens. And what we're looking at here is 1 hour's worth of music. This is just 1 hour chunk, and the rest of it will be edited in the video. So it'll just basically just be a 1 hour chunk that's all different, repeating every hour. And getting into the mix side of it over here, we can show you that each thing is mixed separately, finding the right balance in the EQ. And what's interesting about the way we do the EQ is what we call Phi Balance, which is we're basically EQing it what's pleasing to the ear, and then going back over each knob and making sure that there's a Phi relationship there. And if it needs to be moved just a tiny bit to get it into that Phi relationship, it does. And most engineers will respect this, because you'll find that when you put it into that mathematical point, suddenly the music pops. There's this pop, and every engineer who's ever mixed music knows what I'm talking about. There's this point where you're mixing and you're like, there it is. There's that little pocket, whatever that is. But I can say that there's a consistency to it. It's all mathematical, and it's all related to Phi. So that's what we call Phi Balance. Just going over every knob, micro adjustments to get it to relate it to the golden ratio. And that's happening on every single track, all the way across. So this track's doing this one, that one's doing this one. We got that one doing that one. So let me mute this, it's a little bit annoying. So we've got this one going, just the horn by itself. And each of them have their own settings. And that's basically what you missed yesterday. A whole lot of that, 8 hours of that. So let me know if you like this, if you want me to do more of these, if you want me to change the format of how I do them. If you are interested in the boring parts, just let me know. And I'm doing this for you. You guys are my members, and you guys are my core supporters. I really, really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. And I want to make it worthwhile for you. So leave me comments and let me know what you guys would like to see, and I'll give you more of that. All right, cheers.